friends. I am Vitaly Portnikov. US President Donald Trump announced the end of all aid to South Africa, justifying it by saying that in this African country, a certain group of people is being discriminated against in that African country. Eccentric American billionaire Elon Musk, who is known to have a serious ideological influence on Trump, agreed with Donald Trump. Musk, who was born in South Africa, back during the apartheid era, he accused a South African president, Cyril Ramaphosa, of having openly Russian laws in his country. However, it should be noted that the statements from Trump and Musk fell on fertile ground. Right now, there is a real political crisis in South Africa related to the parliament's passing of the so-called expropriation law, allowing for the expropriation of private land in exchange for compensation, or even in certain cases, in the absence of it, for public needs. President Cyril Ramaphosa and his allies from the African National Congress claim that the law has no Russian character whatsoever, and Ramaphosa's coalition partners from the party representing the white minority in South Africa even threatened to leave the ruling coalition if the law is not changed. So it can be said that Trump and Musk intervened in the South African political crisis. This is exactly what representatives of radical circles in the political establishment of South Africa are talking about right now, claiming that Donald Trump and Elon Musk predictably support white racists in their ambitions maintain control over South African property. However, it's not just the dispute over property that matters, but also the consequences of Donald Trump's attack on the South African government. The thing is, economically, the statements from the American president are unlikely to have much significance for South Africa. The United States doesn't provide that significant aid to the South African economy, and that part of the aid that was linked to truly ambitious programs called to stop the spread of HIV in South Africa is now practically shut down due to the actual dismantling of Donald Trump and Elon Musk's American Agency for International Development. And as we know, Trump's statement came on the very day it became clear that the White House had no plans to reopen the agency. So the South African government shouldn't expect that aid from such presidential programs will resume anytime soon. It's no longer worth it. Well, as for the political consequences, they are evident. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has until recently tried to balance, albeit cautiously, with the United States. On one side, there's the Russian Federation, and on the other side, the People's Republic of China. The influence of China and Russia in South Africa has been increasing. One could say with each passing year, South Africa is one of the countries that joined BRICS, and yet Ramaphosa tried to maintain fairly even relations with the United States and European countries, despite the resistance to these attempts to maintain balance from the radical wing of the African National Congress and other parties, claiming that it's necessary to be much more openly oriented towards Beijing and Moscow. That's politically correct and economically beneficial. Now, of course, the positions of the radicals can only strengthen. It was on that very day when Donald Trump announced his readiness to stop economic aid to South Africa. The Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy of South Africa, Gwede Mantashe, at the International Investment Conference, in African mineral extraction, it was stated that African countries should take control of mineral extraction, stop supplying them to the West, and if the United States continues to threaten South Africa and other African countries with a withdrawal of aid and investments in exchange for political concessions, let's stop the supply of minerals to the United States, urged the South African minister at this conference. If they aren't going to give us money, then let's not give them minerals. We're not beggars, noted this representative of the South African leadership. And so one could say that the leadership of the Republic of South Africa, as expected, is ready to take on this political challenge from the President of the United States to justify its drift towards, first of all, China, but also Russia. One could say that Donald Trump and Elon Musk, with their statements, can not only escalate the political confrontation in South Africa and facilitate the reformatting of the ruling coalition towards radical forces that will cast aside any conventions when it comes to the rights of the white minority. They are, you could say, creating a pretty good political highway for the chairman of the People's Republic of China, Xi Jinping, who is also interested in weakening American positions in South Africa. These positions, as we have seen in recent years, have remained under quite a big question mark. And when it came to the role of the United States, and when it came to the role of the former colonial powers, such as France or the United Kingdom, but now when the President of the United States will be sure that economic aid to African countries can be used as a tool to pressure their governments in China and Russia. In general, unprecedented economic and political opportunities are emerging. China's leaders may be increasing their investment in African economies amid reluctance from radical politicians. In the leadership of these states, cooperate with the United States and other Western countries. And Russia can remind that it is precisely it that is the heir to the state that has always supported the anti-colonial struggle of African peoples in that situation when Western countries were still colonial empires. And if anyone needs it, there were very specific pieces of evidence to support the positions of Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin, and they did not find this evidence. So now, as we clearly understand, there are very clear and specific pieces of evidence. The validity of this approach can be found in the statements of US President Donald Trump, or in the words of American billionaire Elon Musk, Russian and Chinese propaganda won't even need to come up with anything. For the American president and his associates, they will do everything themselves. Thank you, friends. Stay tuned to this channel, subscribe to it, and follow me on my social media, to the channels on Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee, and Donut, which help develop these resources. Use the sponsorship feature right on YouTube. Peace to you.